Right, as I said, I'm from South Africa. Most of our towns at the moment are changing names. So Port of East London is now changed to the Port of Khoma. Port Elizabeth changed to the Port of Quebec. So all of our ports at the moment are busy changing over time. I am presenting this paper. I'm Seugnet Bronkhorst, and I did this paper with one of my students, Siphiwo Fumbeza, and Alfred Masakale was the co-supervisor. I beg your pardon? Oh, I thought they said something. This is what South Africa obviously looks like with our different ports. Walvis Bay and Luderitz are in Namibia. And we've got our 8 ports in South Africa: Saldanha Bay, Cape Town, Mossel Bay, Nkora, and Port Elizabeth, which is Quebec. And then East London, which is now Khoma, Durban, Richards Bay. Those are our 8 ports that we have in South Africa. Now, the latest one, Nkuru, is one of the made ports where the bigger ships, with the larger ships, may come in. Our biggest problem in South Africa is that we've got shallow waters, and we had to expand for those big ships. I want to show you more or less. Now, I know you are from very big countries. Remember, I'm from South Africa, and we're a small player in the whole world. But I will get back to that because we are becoming a more and more important player. Thank you to America with the war. We've got more people coming around our coast, but I'll talk about that later on as well. I just want to quickly share with you this screen. Where do I go to first? Screen.
Give it. Something wrong.
So that's basically what our port looked like in East London. And we are, as I said, a very small country, a very small area. Where's my presentation now, sir? Can you perhaps help me? There you go.
My name is Seugnet. I've been working at Port Authority for the last 29 years. I am a type master. For the last 15 years, I've been driving trucks. These trucks help when the ships come in to dock them and undock them. They are powerful, and what they do is So what we do with that cell, the partner the ships, and while it's in part, they upload the cargo, and then the case, you take them out, you throw them out, or push them in. How we use that is more powerful.
It's not on YouTube, it's on YouTube. People with Explorer probably might get that video.
Yes, the we can stop. So, and then
What?
I'm totally confused.
Yeah.
Okay, so I went to the new book. Thank you, Michael. Thank you so much. At least the young people know more than we do. Right. My discussion with the whole dissertation was, the master's study, was on how horizontal integration can actually happen in this port of East London. Now, first of all, to start with, what is horizontal integration? It's a collaboration between your alliances or a merger or acquisitions amongst the port authorities or amongst the terminal operators or the shipping lines and services and the same supply chain level. So it is a horizontally people working together. People who will come together as alliances, as mergers. In China, it's very important that they have merged very successfully some of the liners, big liners. In South Africa, we are trying to do that, but let me look at the technician. They can't hear me.
But I,
Face the microphone and don't turn away.
yes,
Okay.
yes, that's good.
Okay, I'll only look at one area. Right, in South Africa, we are trying to integrate. We are trying to work together. And it is important for us to look at, because we want. Okay, better. You see me. Right, in South Africa, we are looking at, it matters for us because of globalization, containerization, and the shifts specifically about the competitiveness towards performance. Because of our 8 ports, this has become very competitive in the world and is becoming more and more competitive. Unfortunately, our turnaround time and cost efficiency and reliability is not up to standard as it should be to be in a globalization market. The locations are wonderful. We've got a wonderful locations, very strategic locations. However, because of various political reasons, our big container ships do not come to South Africa. We've got, for example, Maersk, which is one of the biggest ones, who no longer come to South Africa. And all of this is a loss to us. However, the video that I showed you indicate to you that we are moving a lot of goods and services from South Africa. We've got a big export on the car business. And this, I think they use the Mercedes as an example, which is now built in Quebec. And also we have our different minerals that is sent through our harbors to the rest of the world. Because we do have the harbors. If you look at Africa, there are so many of these countries that are bounded and they do not have access to the harbors. So we service basically Botswana and Zimbabwe through our harbors, our ports. Opportunities and constraints. While the biggest opportunity is that you will have a shared planning and scheduling, which can reduce the siloed operations and optimize the scarce assets. Because we have a scarce berths, cranes, and tugboats. We don't have it in South Africa. We are, because of poor maintenance. And my colleagues here at the University of Johannesburg, they can agree or disagree, but they can agree that because of no maintenance or low maintenance, we've lost so many of our capital assets. Integration can weaken the competition, especially where one state-owned group dominates. And this is one of our problems. We have our state-owned group that dominate the boat industry or the port industry. I will come to that, but Transnet is our most important transport business, and they are in charge, which is a government institution. My research methodology, or the research methodology we used, was exploratory, where we looked at, in a qualitative way, exploring what is happening at the Port of East London, using a qualitative design to capture everything as far as the operations and the stakeholders, in other words, the people who are partaking in this port, to find out what they found as complex or a problem. There were semi-structured interviews where we purposely selected people from the port and logistics department so that we got all sides, both sides of the stakeholders. We spoke to the people who are working at the ports. We spoke to the people who own the ports. We spoke to the people who actually, to who the land belongs. And we also spoke to the companies on how and why they are not using South Africa ports. This was done through teams, recorded, consistent collection. I'm sure that it was what's the word that I can't get to? Private, data analyzed through thematic analysis. So we've identified themes according to which we analyze it. And we also use this to looking at the recurring patterns that happens. The recurring patterns that was from these themes we used eventually to make our final decisions. There was definitely a relationship relevant to the horizontal integration. You could actually see when you did the research, it's basically repeating the same question. So the stakeholders already determined that there is a specific theme, and that was clear to us. I have to iterate the engagement with a data set refined where we look at the themes and we look at the strengthening of these themes, look at the depth of the data that we received, and then we look at how integration is actually perceived. Do I realize that there is a possibility of horizontal integration? In some cases, we had people that suggest horizontal integration, even though they didn't know what it was. Remember, we went through right from the bottom to the top when we did the research. So if I say some people didn't understand it, some people from our lower work group did not understand what horizontal integration is. The problem that we identified right through, and actually that's why we started with the investigation, is that the capacity is underused. Is this thing working? The capacity is underused. Yeah. We've got a bigger capacity than when we actually use in South Africa. We are missing out on a lot of things that actually can happen. But unfortunately, we are underused, and the delays that persist. The ships are lying outside, waiting to come in. But there are delays, and these delays is not only at Port Elizabeth, but at all our harbours. Various reasons, and the one most important reason is our workforce. Unions demanding higher money. And then another thing is what we call the port mafias, where they prevent the boats coming in. And that's a real problem in South Africa. We've got all these mafias. We've got my colleagues from Johannesburg can perhaps elaborate on that, but we've got water mafias and we've got all kinds of mafias. Actually, we're better than Italy. So when we look at this, the key operational gaps, the first one is we've got aging cargo handling equipment. And this prevents that the ships can be downloaded. What's wrong? What am I doing wrong now?
No, right.
Okay. The equipment such as the berth throughput and the reliability, is very low. Our equipment is old. The last real maintenance that took place was in 1992. So it's more than 20.
Sharing is good.
What am I? I'm very lucky that I'm not a lecturer anymore. Oh, share on my
Sharing not
there at the top.
noise.
PowerPoint. But I don't know, it's shared now on my OneDrive. Is it not on Teams?
Now is sharing going on, right? Now it's okay, maybe. Yes, okay. Now
What's the problem?
no sharing. Sharing. Now it's okay.
It's okay. Yes.
It's sharing.
Yes. Yes. Please. You carry on.
Okay. You want to plug it in here? Sorry, people, I'm obviously the first one with sorting out all the problems. As I said, our cargo handling equipment and our berths are very unreliable. The vessels are delayed and unreliable marine services. Unreliable because they are old. They are unreliable, and this extend the ship turnaround times. You know, if you are there at the harbors, it was heartbreaking to see that these big ships come in to load or to unload. And because of the tardiness of the port, these ships lie there in the open sea for 20, 30 days and then just leave to go to another harbor because they're losing money. And because of that, South Africa is also losing money. And the people who are receiving or sending out the stuff lose money. These ships just move on from Port Elizabeth up to Maputo. They drop there, and then the companies who want their goods and services have to go and collect at the next bay or port. So our vessels, the extent of our ship around times are very low. This was all part of the problem that we identified. There was also, what is very, very sad, fragmented decision making. This one make a decision on what he sees as the reason, and then the next person. But these two decisions doesn't talk to each other, and that is a big problem. This weakens the maintenance. All depending on what the government is making available to us or to the ports to use the money, but this money then is used for something else or are used for something else. And it doesn't come out to where it is supposed to be. There's a limited competition and role conflicts, very limited competition, and I will show you why we complain about that, because the Transnet National Ports Authority is the landlord and regulator for the port infrastructures and administration, which also belongs to the government. So there's no private investigation, or not investigation, investment. These two, the landlord and the maintenance and services, are all the same. And there should be some form of competition between the two. You have to have some private investors coming into that. All 8 our major commercial ports are owned and managed within the Transnet Group. And the Transnet Group is the government's transport system. So the Transnet Ports Authority and the Transnet Port Terminals is all done by the same, basically, company. So how do you actually get out of this? Because of the domination in our cargo handling, across most containers, general cargo, and roll-on and roll-off terminals are belonging to one person. The landlord will not push the terminal people, please, I need more money to come in. And the terminal people will say, well, regardless what happened, if we are waiting for ships or sending out cargo, we're still going to get paid. A socialistic type of feeling. We also have a lot of regulatory gaps and integration needs. Must I accept that? Admit. And everything happens here, so. The landlord relationship is complicated by the absence of a comprehensive independent framework covering the infrastructure and the service provision. So the infrastructure and the service are so intertwined. There's no two services, no direct two services. If we don't have enough money in the TNPA, we're going to take money from the TPT. If we need some more output, I'm going to take the money from the TNPA, and that will result in the machinery that is not going to be maintained. So the intertwinedness of this is really a problem. Critics highlight the risk of cross-subsidization, as I said, that can divert the surplus away from reinvestment. So instead of making money as a landlord, which they can reinvest, they are busy subsidizing the services, the TPT operators. While common ownership delivers high horizontal integration, improved outcomes are also required as far as our transparent performance measurements. Now, one of the things in South Africa is that we have to be very transparent. We have to be transparent enough so that we see what's going on. We can all see what's going on, but nothing happens, by the way. But transparency is extremely important. We look at the accountability mechanisms that align the incentives across the stakeholders. But as I said, because of the two operators working not against each other or together or in a profit-building relationship, that becomes a problem. Our economic value of the ports are very important in South Africa because this results in our trade and growth, something that we need. The trade gateways and jobs and competitiveness in South Africa are intertwined. The 80 to 90% of South Africa's trade by volume moves by sea. 1 hour or 1 minute or 1 day.
I can definitely give you an hour. Basically listen to the presentation, but the organizer will stop.
But you know, I've got all these things that happen. Logistic cost, improve reliability. We have to look at the link between our IDZ, our industrial development zones, that was identified by the government and said, let's develop these zones. The high capital cost, because it was not maintained, they have to put in new stuff the whole time. And this, then can I come to my recommendations? The recommendations from the study showed that we have to look at a better aligned incentive and clear performance targets. We have to tell the landlord, this is what we want. And we have to tell TPT, this is what we want. Don't be from one area, from one, as we say in South Africa, from one kraal. Operational, invest in digital coordination. Many of our stuff are still paper-based. Somebody said about paper-based. Many of our stuff is still paper-based. Enable and renew our infrastructure. Upgrade the equipment, very important. And support competition. They don't want any competition. We are begging for a change in leadership, and at the moment we are going through a change in leadership, so we hope that we will gain from these changes. So takeaways from this, I'm not giving you food, but takeaways from this is that the study understands how horizontal integration can influence operational performance. And from the study, you can take further quantitative designs to estimate performance gains. So you can take from this quality research and change it into a quantitative research. Coordination, infrastructure, technology, and governments. Those are the 4 aspects that must be integrated. I must still with my 1 minute, because I'll finish.